Hey,
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Blueprints and Bankrolls. I'm one of your hosts. Well, I would be a co-host, I guess. Would I be a co-host? Yeah, I'm your
host
co-host, Jared, and I'm here with the lovely and talented
Brandon Delgado.
Brandon Delgado.
I don't
Brandon,
know about lovely. I don't know
welcome
about
back
lovely,
from
but
your
we'll take it.
vacation, another vacation. So it looks like you were spending time with family and things. So that's amazing. I'm glad you got to do that. But now the people need us. So today we're going to talk about remodel or rebuild the dream home dilemma. What that means is, hey, I love my house. I love my neighbors in general. You don't love them all because there's no way you love them all. Come on, let's be honest.
I do. My neighborhood's great.
Actually, you do have a great neighborhood. I agree. So here's the dilemma. Hey, I love my neighborhood, but I need more space. Mom and dad are moving back in. Yay. I'm having children. I need more space. I need a bigger backyard. I need to put a second story on. I want to remodel my kitchen, my bath, and my backyard. So the dilemma is whether or not you remodel your current house and get it to be your dream home as you want, or do you go out and buy a house? Sorry, do you go out and find land, build your dream home, and go through all that nightmare of going through that process? Today, we're going to talk about both of them, figure out which one makes the most sense, and kind of break it down. So, Brandon, I know you have brought up a couple of clients that we're actually working with. One of them I'm meeting on later on today. He's building a dream home from scratch. So he already has the land. He wants to build his exact house that he wants. He and his wife are having their first child, so they need a space to grow into. So tell me a little bit about that project and why it made sense for that client.
Yes, for that client, it makes sense because they already purchased the land. So they had the land, and then now we just have to develop that land and build the dream home. They're trying to build a forever home. So their first home they're building from the ground up. They want to put everything in it all at once. So that way they never have to rebuild again. They're going to stay there forever.
We
They
hope.
have quite a few acres of land, and they're going to raise a family.
Yeah.
So it makes sense
So
for them because it's not a starter home, it's a forever home.
right. So yeah, so we need to break it down to whether or not people are just saying, "Hey, I don't like my kitchen. I don't like my bath." Well, those are easy fixes. You don't need to kind of start, from scratch. Now, the people that are building that home that have several acres, they're going to build their custom dream home. This is a $1.5 million plus project. So let's keep it in perspective. Somebody that just says, "Hey, I really, I have a dated kitchen. I have dated baths. I need new windows. I need new stuff." Well, those are easy fixes. And we can get financing for that very easily through an equity line of credit, through a cash out refinance. There's definitely ways that you can access the cash. Now, if that's $100,000 to $200,000 project, cool. But if it's oh my God, I want to build my dream home. I'm never moving. This is it forever. Most people on average historically stay in the house between, 6 and 10 years. Times change, things change, people move, people die. I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, unfortunately, later in life, as people get older, things happen, life happens, things change. So you want to be prepared and you want to strategize and make sure that, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket and you're not, you know, uh, over your skis as far as, financing is concerned. So a couple of things. So we need to figure out, hey, what is it a want or a need? If it's a need, like I have 3 kids and a 1,200 square foot house on, the north side, I can't do this anymore. Well, that's a different story. So let's talk a little bit about layout, space, remodeling, stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about clients that you are working with as well that are just doing the remodel. So they say, "Hey, I just want to do my kitchen, my bath, things like that." What are you seeing that's happening?
Yeah, typically, the remodeling or the small addition clients are established where they're at. They have equity in the house.
Yeah,
They love their neighborhood. Their kids are already grown or they're in the middle school, high school, and they're like, "Hey, we just need a kitchen, bathroom remodel." That
yeah,
seems to work out really well for people. Not going to find a new place, especially if they like the school district they're in. That's
yeah,
half the battle here in California, right? School
yeah.
districts and
Well,
neighborhoods.
land is expensive.
Yeah.
These are what I'm hearing is these are people that are in their 30s and 40s, have a couple kids. The kids are getting older. They just really want, they want lipstick on the house. They don't want to completely start over and control alt delete. They're just looking to improve the quality of a kitchen, a bath, a backyard, stuff like that. Okay, is that
Yeah,
what
and
I'm
then
hearing?
there's like an easy hit list, right, of remodeling pros and cons, right? So remodeling cost savings. It's usually 10 to 20% less expensive than a new construction. Faster timelines, right? Instead of a year to a year and a half, depending on the size of the house, to build it from the
Okay,
ground up, it could be
yeah.
anywhere from three months to 12 months.
What?
The
Why?
con for
Why
huh?
could it? Why is there such a huge variance? Why is it 3 to 12
Well,
months?
because
Depends on depends on what you're doing.
if you If you're just doing like a kitchen and bathroom,
Yeah. How long does that take?
that's the lower end. If I'm gonna add a second story on a one-story house, it's like probably about 9 to 12 months, right? Remodeling cons, right, is there's hidden costs, right? Surprises. We can't see through walls, right? So if we open up a wall and we see something and there's a structural issue, then we have to fix that
Okay.
because we have opportunity. Design limitations, right? Your setbacks, living disruptions, dust. You can't stay there during a big remodel. You have to go get a hotel or go on vacation for a couple months. That's a good plan. So
Yeah.
it just depends on what you're looking for.
So everything depends on space, right? What I'm hearing is, do you have enough space? Like if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to do all of these things," and you're like, "Well, that's great. I'd love to," but you have limitations. Let's talk about limitations. So you have to go through the city. You have to get permits. You have to figure out setbacks. Let's talk about setbacks a little bit. What is a setback, and what does that mean to somebody that says, "Oh, I want to increase my square footage by 800 square feet," but you only have so much space and setbacks from your neighbors.
Mhm.
Tell the listeners and the watchers, what is a setback and what does that mean?
Yeah, depending on your local codes, setback is the distance from the side of your house to your property line, your fence, and the
Okay.
back of the house, and how much you can encroach, right? So a lot of times it's depending on what it is, right? So if it's an ADU, it could be 5 feet from the fence, from the back. If it's not an ADU, it's a different measurement
ADU,
depending on
accessory
where.
dwelling unit for all of the
Yeah,
people out there. Yeah. Sorry about
so
the
that
acronyms.
the planning department will tell you how far you can encroach towards that property line, as
Okay.
well as the height, right? So we're finishing up a project in the late stages that we designed it, and the planning department goes, "The building's 3 inches too tall. Can you bring it down 4 inches, total height of the
After you've
building?"
already put it up?
No, no, it's
Okay.
in when we draw the drafting the plan sets. Yeah, that's no problem. We'll drop it 4 inches. It changes the roof pitch a little bit, but it didn't change the inside dimension. So you have a max allotment on your lot, and there's lot coverages too. So you got to look at that. Some places, you can only do 30% lot coverage. So just
Well, my
depends.
uncle, my uncle Johnny that does remodels, that's not licensed and is not bonded and is not a general contractor, didn't tell me all of this. What's all this coming into play? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So this is why you want to, yeah, go ahead.
tell Uncle Johnny to just hang out and go fishing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you definitely want to know if you're going to be doing a larger project, meaning you're not just throwing up a pergola. You definitely want to get with a professional that knows what they're doing, that knows about setbacks and easements and making sure that almost fancy words today, the encroachment angles and all this fun stuff are done because it can potentially, and we talked about this, it's potentially cause issues. So you open up walls and you find things. What are you finding when you open up walls? Like if I'm a buyer, if I'm sorry, I'm doing a remodel, I do all of this. You start hammering and beating down walls and doing what you got to do to get the project completed. You open up walls. What are you seeing that people couldn't come across?
I would say about 70% of the time we'll see open exposed wires in the wall cavities, which is a fire hazard. So they basically save themselves for future potential disaster.
What do you
So
mean by open
wiring done.
wires? What do you mean? What does that mean?
So there's a box, and there's supposed to be a box inside the wall with your wires, and then a cap. So if a wire
Right.
is exposed, it has to be accessible through outside the wall. Well, some people just bury the wires in the wall, and they're
Oh
just
God.
in there with the wire nuts, or sometimes not even wire nuts, and just cut them and put them in there. They could spark. We see, dry rot from bad flashing detail installation, especially with deck to wall
Right.
connections. So that's an issue.
I see that on appraisals too. When people get appraisals for refinances or purchases, there's an appraiser goes out. It has to be noticeable on my appraisal, but you get into the nitty gritty like you are inches from the challenges. So
Yeah.
out of the last 10 projects that you've done and your team has done, Brendan, how many of them, once you open up walls and things, you're finding, well, this has to be fixed, this has to be replaced, this is a major, major issue in general.
So major issues, I think it was only, one project in the last 2 years that cost, 30 or $40,000 of extra charges. Small stuff like the wiring, as long as it's only one here or there, a good contractor is just going to take care of it for you. Uh, we, I think this was probably that one project in the last 2 years that had major implications. So
Okay. So people
it's
don't
not
need to
that
freak
everybody.
out and go, we're just waiting for the disaster, right? Like Things
No, and that's
happen.
what
Life happens. Yeah.
that's what we say is like keep 10%, right? So if your
Yep.
project's $100,000, make sure you have 110,000, right? Just in case something happens. We just got hit. I just got a letter in the mail from we're a distributor for a cabinet company. We just got hit with tariffs starting September 1st. That's in like
Ooh,
2 weeks.
exciting.
9.3%, they said. So
Wow.
I mean, if you have
Buy
$20,000
local.
in cabinets, that's $2,000.
Extra. Yeah.
And we didn't plan for that. You didn't plan for that.
Good old
So
tariffs. Everybody
I
loves
wanted to circle
tariffs.
back, and this is probably good for also like setbacks and lot coverage. Be aware if you have an HOA, right? Because you need
HOA.
that
What's
approval
HOA,
for.
Brandon? Homeowners Association. That is a organization that is looking to make sure that whenever you buy a house, I'll talk about HOAs. HOAs are super exciting. You pay them to find you and make sure that all of your neighbors are doing the same thing. Your favorite neighbor Rick doesn't paint his house hot pink. That decreases the value. That everybody is keeping the value and the quality and the surroundings at a certain, you've got to have certain standards so that, like I said, you don't want your neighbor to not cut his lawn for the next 6 months because that's going to decrease the value of the neighborhood. But they also can be very not restrictive, but they can tell you, and you will get what's called CCNRs, covenants and restrictions, things like that. When you purchase the house, that tells you, hey, you can do the following, you can't do the following. What have you seen in regards to HOAs that has caused challenges or headaches for you, Brennan?
Well, I don't think it's just more time in the design phase of the project because we have to read through those when we're starting to design the home. Let's just for
Okay.
say one home has to be a minimum of 3,500 square feet. Okay. And then the dwelling unit can't be more than 30 feet tall. Okay. Well, what if they wanted a two-story house with a really steep roof pitch? Well, we were going to be above that 30 feet. So we're going to lower the roof line and the symmetry kind of looks different. So, I mean, it's not, we work with them, it's not a problem. It's just more time, right? So it costs you more time
Yeah.
for us to develop the plan set because we have to develop it within their rules, right? And that will also, if you have like a certain type of stone on your house and they don't approve it, that's not good for you as the homeowner, right? We haven't seen that yet, but it could happen.
Yeah. HOAs are fun. Nobody loves, everybody telling me what to do. But again, they're designed and set up specifically to make sure that you don't have issues. You don't have, people parking cars on the lawn and devaluing the neighborhood and making sure that everybody's keeping up the neighborhood, keeping up the value so that, you don't have craziness. You've got to have
The
rules and
intentionality is
rules,
good.
and the intentionality is good. But yeah, sometimes when you want to do a simple remodel and they say no because it obstructs the XYZ, you just got to know all those things because those things can and do come into play. I've seen it, on the lending side where HOAs at the end of the day, sometimes people read through them, they're like, that is not that's not going to work. So just know the rules, know what to look out for, what to be careful of, and just know that there's options out there. So you just got to be ahead of the curve. So let's talk a little bit about return on investment of remodeling versus ground up builds. A lot of people say, well, do I sink 300 grand into my current house and get it the way I want it? Or should I sink that 300 grand, maybe list my house, sell my house, take my equity and roll that into a ground up build? Return on investment for those two. Can you tell me a little bit about, in general, what a good return on investment would be for like a major kitchen remodel, bathrooms and things like that? Like it's an existing homeowner that lived in their house 10 years. They say, I want a second story, I want a new kitchen, new bathrooms, and upgraded landscaping. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so you're definitely going it depends on your area, okay?
100%.
Location, location,
Location,
location.
location.
So, if you're in San Jose, Silicon Valley, Northern California area, Monterey, San Jose, Santa Cruz counties, all those counties like that, those areas, maybe even San Francisco, it is always 100% of the time cheaper to remodel your house if you've already been in there for a few years. The return on investment is massive. San Jose, average house is going for about $1,200 a square foot.
That's crazy.
That's list price, right? So it's crazy. Like we could really remodel your house and do high end finishes for.
Question. What would it take per square foot to add 1,000 square feet to my existing house right now with like higher end, like I want nice, like I want to live here
Mhm.
for next 10 years. If I came to you and I said, hey, I want to put 1,000 square foot on my house. I'm in Monterey, Santa Cruz, Santa Clara County. What does that run roughly?
So if you do 1,000 one-story square foot house with everything in, you're probably about 650 a square foot, $600 a square foot,
Okay,
depending on your situation on your land.
gotcha. Okay. And that's all in. That's hiring finishes. That's
That's
your
everything.
time, planning,
The
materials, labor, everything.
fixtures, everything.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Good to know.
So,
Perfect.
and if you look at that, if you're in Monterey County, even San Jose, Santa Clara County, right? So if you pay 650 a square foot and the house is even listing, let's say we have a dip in the housing market, let's say it goes down to $1,000 a square foot. You just made $350 a square foot. You made $350,000 return on investment
Oh,
before you even do anything.
wow. Look at you with the math. Okay.
Yeah.
Math wizard guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do
So,
I do I do horrible English and writing, but really good spreadsheets and math.
hey, as long as you can sling a hammer and it's pretty straight, then we're good. So we're happy. Perfect. Well, today we covered remodel versus rebuild. Does it make sense? On the rebuild, we kind of dove into that, but on the dream home, like, oh my gosh, I want to build my dream home. Tell me the process of that on the construction side, because on the lending side, there are one-time construction loans. How those work are the following. Typically, you would need to purchase the land. So if you just want to build literally ground up, you got to find a piece of land. Well, cool. So land can be expensive depending on the size. Is it a quarter acre, half acre, acre? The more land you buy, the more expensive it is, so on and so forth. If you just want to get a land loan and you're not sure when you want to do this construction stuff, most lenders will want you to put at least 30% down on a $300,000 piece of land. You're going to need to put at least 90,000 down. So plan on about $100,000 all in to purchase just the land. Okay. If it's a year after you buy the land, and then all of a sudden now you want to start construction, we can do what's called a one-time construction loan. How that works is the lender would lend you monies to build the house, construct the house, and set up interest-only payments along throughout the process of building the house. It's a construction loan. So, and then you only pay interest on what you take out as you need it. For instance, let's say you started building today. It's August 20th. It's going to take you 4 months to do the project or to build it. You have a huge team and you come in and knock it out. So let's say today you only needed access to $250,000 today. Cool. You're going to pay interest on $250,000. 60 days goes by and you need another $200,000 for materials and labor and cost, and you got the trust, everything's coming in. Then you'll pay interest on whatever the balance is. So as your balance improves or increases, then you will have a little bit of a higher payment. Again, set up as interest only so that the payments are comfortable for you throughout the process. At the very end, Brennan says, hey, your home is done. We have a certificate of occupancy. The house is literally ready to move in. Like lights work, air conditioning works, landscaping's in. Oh my God, flowers. The neighbors come. Hopefully, some of your family comes, not all of them, because you know what that's like. Should have did that.
I love all my family. I don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, most of them. But in general, then the lender will do your permanent financing. So they'll look at it and say, all right, hey, at the end of the day, you borrowed X. Cool. Well, now we need to fix that into a permanent loan so that it's not variable. It's set up as principal and interest, things like that. So you want to meet with your lender and decide, hey, at the end of the day, I never want to move here. Typically, you're going to go into what's called a 30-year fixed mortgage, which means, hey, you're set. Here's your rate. Here's your payment. Here's where we're at the end of the day. So that's a great product, especially because you can typically borrow sometimes between 80 and 90% of the total project. So if it's an $800,000 project, you can typically borrow up to about 90% of that. Again, depends on the situation, depends on your qualifying. There's a lot of factors that go into that. So definitely check with your lender to make sure you know all of those questions. All those questions are answered. So you're not starting a project, getting your hopes up, and then you find your dream home, you get it all done, and then the lender says, "Hey, I can't approve." That's a problem. So work with a great lender. I know a guy at Loan Daddy that make sure that they peel back the onion, really make sure that there are no surprises. Because one of the biggest things and the biggest stresses of this whole process is I have this dream, and then you have to figure out, okay, cool, can I afford it? Well, once I say, yeah, you can afford it, then you meet with a contractor like Brandon. Hey, Brandon, I've already met with my lender. I'm approved up to X. I want you to build my dream home. And then he's got to figure out, cool. Well, I need to make sure that your project fits for this parcel of land. Is it big enough? Is there any easements? Is there HOA? That's why you want to work with professionals that know the process, that know what they're doing. Brandon, anything else you want to add before we get wrapped up?
Hey, just to follow up on that, you said that you already have the land. What if they don't have the land?
Great question. Great question. So if they don't have the land, on the one-time construction loan, we could actually wrap that into the loan. So we can wrap that in as far as acquiring the land and the construction all in one. So that's another angle. Great point. Where hey, I have the land. I don't have a ton of money, but we can wrap the land purchase as well as the construction costs all into the loan. That way, that people that aren't out of pocket, that don't have an extra $200,000-300,000 lying around. Because again, if you were to just purchase land, you call me today and you say, Jared, I want to buy a piece of land. It's dirt with utilities. Cool. You need 30% down in general. Sometimes more, sometimes slightly less, not much. Plan on about 30%. But if people don't have $100,000 lying around, what do they do? Well, you talk to a lender that knows what they're doing, gets a one-time construction loan. We can build that land acquisition into the one-time construction loan and give you the monies to do the construction project at the end of the day. The lender, here's the cool thing. The lender will give you the loan based on the completed value. What does that mean? That means, hey, we're going to give you a loan, and assuming that you build a house of 3,500 square feet, they're going to look at your neighbors. They're going to look at comps, comparables. What is sold in the area that's 3,500 square feet that's in this neighborhood? The completed value will be X. And that's another thing that you want to make sure of. At the end of the day, if he's going to build you a house for 650 square foot in California in general, and again, you have to determine where you're at, location, location, location. Let's say you bought a 2,000, you want him to build a 2,000 square foot house, costs $650 a square foot to build. You get it all completed. The lender will do an appraisal, and the appraiser, when he goes out to the property, will assess the value based on the completed project, and then also look at comparables. So the lender makes sure that they're going to, before they loan you any money, they want to make sure that the project at the end of the day is gonna pencil out. So great question, Brandon.
Yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. What do you think, Jared?
Yeah. No, I think that was good. Definitely, if you guys have other things that you'd like us to talk about, we're doing searches all the time. We're looking at what people are asking. We're asking our current clients. We're really kind of getting this podcast up and running. Each week, we're trying to build community of people that are interested in these type of projects or have questions. Again, if there's anything that you guys need as far as the financing side, hit me up, send me a direct message. If you have general contractor questions or construction or new builds or remodels, Brandon's your guy. He'll take great care of you. So we appreciate everyone's time, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.